So we can once again push different variety of ways, but even creatively, if I extend this, now perhaps I can now take a rope and now I can do a mechanical row here. So now I'm getting low, rotating the torso, getting transverse to the upper half with the fixed feet, and now I can get rope fun with this sled as well. Good afternoon, friends. PC here at Gravity and Oxygen Fitness, coming to you with another edition of Turf Talk Tuesday, here with my good friend and colleague, Nick Tumnello. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing all right. How's everybody?
Good, good. Every once in a while, we like to give you a little science talk, and today we're going to talk about the benefits and variety use of sleds. One of your favorite topics, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the most versatile and valuable tools you can have.
Absolutely. What I find that's valuable is its unique feature of being locomotive in nature. It's carnally are, as beings, to get from point A to point B, right? To be a locomotive creature. But it's hard to find that also in an application of strength, where we can overload a piece of equipment and then provide strength application to locomotion. And that's the unique feature.
Correct. So I used to say with my clients and athletes, locomotion comes in two ways. You have plow horse and you have thoroughbred, right? Thoroughbred would be like athletic, skips and bouncy and moving things. Plow horse is carrying or pushing against weights. You do them both. You got both options available to you.
Acres on the farm, pushing through. Fantastic. So we want to talk about also, beyond the effective, unique feature of locomotion and strength, is the fact that if you come with a prior injury history, something orthopedic, perhaps like a disc bulge, herniation, that this is a great alternative from spinally compressing your body with barbells, things like that of an overhead nature. Talk more about that.
Well, I would say, I used to call it the kitchen sink. Knees hurt when they do squats and lunges, your hips bother you if you go deep, or your back bothers you doing traditional lower body exercises, squats or deadlifts or lunges. If you have one, two, or all three, which is the kitchen sink, it's pretty hard to find alternatives that you can go hard and feel like you really did something challenging without feeling like, oh, I just feel like I'm stuck on a physical therapy table.
Right.
The sled gives that to you. It's extremely joint friendly because it gives you a lot of work in small ranges of motion that don't put any of those shell shock joints in positions that normally bother you.
Completely agree. And if you, the viewer out there, if you feel limited in your exercise tool belt or library of ideas for exercise, then that's the whole purpose of this Turf Talk, to talk about there are other options that you have at your disposal, such as the sled. So we have varieties of sleds here, right? And we have a mechanical one that has variety of resistance. We have your typical dead load or a weight sled made by Rogue. And then we also have another one made by Sorinex, which has an arm extension, and then it can also work with the strap as well. It's important to point out that with sled work, you can push or pull. Talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we think about pushing with the handles, but there actually is a couple different ways to pull. Actually, I can
Please.
see that from you. Yeah.
Go ahead. Here we go. As I untangle the knot that we should have done beforehand.
We always think the automatic is, oh, he's just going to show me going backwards, right? Well, if you already know that, you don't need me to show it to you. So anytime I'm using the straps, I'm pulling the sled. But I learned this from one of my mentors, Juan Carlos Santana over at IHP, Fit in Boca. I would probably want the strap slightly even longer for this, but I'd lean forward. So now I'm dragging the sled, but I'm still technically pushing it. Here's another way to drag it. This is keep the arms by your side.
A low hang?
Right? The big one with this is you want to keep your arms by your shoulders, and when you set up, don't do this little cartoon move before. Get tension on it first, so it's basically like a carry.
Correct.
And then you're leaning forward and you're going. The reason why those options are great is because maybe you don't have a sled that has these upright handles. So I just gave you options to use your arms without having the upright handles. All you need is straps.
Correct. And you can still pull the device without even actually having TRX straps. It's not necessary or mandatory. We could even go without. So say we didn't have this kind of device. You're here, you can still get in a low position as if you're an athlete going back, like defensive back. And just make sure you don't run over your toes, where you're in this application of reverse tractor pull, right? Yep. And of course you can do your classic push. Talk about positions here. We can have arms extended with the head down low, driving the angle of your body into the force that you would desire. You can also go elbows bent with a more of an upright chest position. Getting creative within the science and using physics, we could also turn the sled sideways. And if my directional force is still forward, by now having a wider position of the sled, it's now going to increase the demand on this exercise. So as you can see, it's really hard to push. But now that I have it in motion, I have to get a lower center of mass, but I've now intensified the exercise without ever changing its load. We can also go back to original position and then get in a zigzag multi-directional format where now I'm getting more athletic specific and driving like so. All right, cool. Let's show you some of the other varieties of sleds that we have back here. All right. So beyond your classic dead load sled, we talked about, this is the torque tank, which has the same features. It has wheels this time, and now we have variable resistance. So we have 0 resistance, and now we can go up 1, 2, 3, and each motor, the torque, has its own lever. Now with that, you're now putting in more stress and tension on that actual axle right there. So we can once again push different variety of ways, but even creatively, if I extend this, now perhaps I can now take a rope, and now I can do a mechanical row here. So now I'm getting low, rotating the torso, getting transverse to the upper half with fixed feet, and now I can get rope fun with this sled as well. You want to talk about the Sornex sled?
Sure. Cool thing about this, it's called Sornex Root Hog, is it's one of the most versatile sleds, because if I take the straps and hook it, as long as the carabiner is big enough, right? This one might not be the big right carabiner, but you see this slides around. So I actually don't have to turn the sled.
Love that feature.
I can just turn myself, and then this can come out and go to the other side, and that's why these holes are there. You can switch the upright. So it's a very well thought out sled. Out of all the sleds, just one benefit, because you can show a lot of variety, but the biggest question is, well, why would I do one or the other? Why would I use that as opposed to the million other things? That's what it really comes down to. One of the main benefits, aside from the joint-friendly nature, is its concentric only action. So you get sore when you do a lot of loaded eccentric, which is the negative of what you hear when your muscles are kind of stretching at the same time. There's only concentric here, so you can work really hard on this and not get what we call muscle damage, which means the things that make you sore. Or if you are a little sore, still from a workout, you went really hard, but you want to do some of this, you can get away with doing something like this and not really having it interfere too much with your recovery time.
Great, valid point. So hopefully you feel more convinced about using some sled work. There are plenty of places to get access and use it as a viable resource. Once again, the principles are, it's locomotive in nature. You can have strength application. It's a great alternative if you have any orthopedic issues, and you can get multi-directional and creative with it, whether pushing or pulling. And we completely encourage you to try sled apparatuses if you have access to them. As always, on behalf of Nick, Dylan, our entire staff here at Gravity in Action, we thank you for watching this edition of Turf Talk Tuesday. We'll see you soon on next week's episode.